All right, guys, we're here. It's Tuesday morning, and I just want to go over the problems that I had you do the past 2 days for transformations. So your directions told you this was number 5, part 5 of the notes. It said to describe how the parent graph y equals x squared was transformed. Okay, so letter A, you had the question y equals 6x squared. Okay, so when you compare y equals 6x squared to the parent function y equals x squared, what do you notice that is different? Okay. You notice that there is a 6 in front of the x squared. So this is a little bit different. So when you are multiplying in the front of the equation, when you are multiplying here, that means it's going to be either a vertical stretch or a vertical shrink. Okay, so a vertical stretch is when A is greater than 1. This is representing A. So when this number is greater than 1, it's a vertical stretch. When it is less than 1, it's a vertical shrink. Okay, so this would be a vertical stretch. Oh, forgot the T. Vertical stretch by a factor of 6. Okay. Letter B, you had y equals 1/2. No, that's 1/5. I'm sorry, I can't see. 1/5 x squared. So when you compare this function to your parent function, you notice that this 1/5 is the difference. You added a fraction in front. You're multiplying by that fraction. So if the number here in front is bigger than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If it's less than 1, it's a vertical shrink. So this is going to be a vertical shrink by a factor of 1/5. Okay. Letter C. Move the camera. Sorry. Still not. Perfect. All right, letter C, it says y equals negative x minus 3 squared. So when you compare this to y equals x squared, you have a negative in front and you have a minus 3 in parentheses with the x. Okay, so there's two things that are happening. My nose look horrible, sorry. So two things that are happening. You're multiplying by a negative here, And on the inside of the parentheses with the x, you're subtracting 3. Okay, so when you have this negative out front, so when a is negative, this means that it is a reflection over the x-axis. So this, what that does to this graph, it reflects it over the x-axis. We can just abbreviate reflection over x-axis. Okay, and this -3 right here, remember it's in the parentheses, so it's opposite of what you would think. And it says -3, so you're inclined to say, okay, go left 3, because this inside the parentheses is your left and right movement. But it's actually going to be right 3 because it's opposite of what you would think. So reflection over the x-axis and right 3 units. Okay, and then lastly, we have letter D. Letter D said y equals 2 times x plus 1 in parentheses squared minus 8. So you're going to have 3 different transformations going on here, 3 different things that change, that are different from y equals x squared, the parent function. You have this 2 in front, you have this plus 1 in parentheses, and you have this minus 8 at the end. Okay, so the 2 in front, remember that's a vertical stretch or vertical shrink. Well, like A, letter A here, if this number in front of the x squared is bigger than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If it's less than 1, it's a vertical shrink. So 2 is bigger than 1, so this is a vertical stretch. By a factor of 2. Okay. This plus 1 in parentheses, remember this is your left and right movement and it's opposite of what you would think. So plus 1, you might be thinking right 1. Well, it's actually going to be the opposite of that. It's going to be left 1. So vertical stretch by a factor of 2 and then left 1 unit. And then finally you have this minus 8. Sorry, the screen's crooked. It's hard to get really straight. Minus 8 means you're going to go, this is at the end, it's your up and down movement. So this is going to make the graph go down 8 units. Okay, and one last thing I want to look at is, okay, this is great, but you have to have this stuff memorized in order to do it. If you want to check and see if you're right, you can always go to the Desmos online graphing calculator. I'm going to do that right now, if I can figure out how. Okay, we're going to minimize that. Nobody's in the call, so that means nobody's joined my session. Okay. If you go to desmos.com, start graphing, and the first thing I like to enter is your parent function, so that's y equals x squared. Okay, so let's check letter D. Letter D said y equals 2 times x plus 1 squared. And then minus 8. Okay, so if we look at our screen, let me see if I can, yeah. So just looking at the vertex for the parent function is 0, 0. The vertex for the transformed function is, what is that point? -1, -8. So from here, we went left 1, down 8, and do you see how the graph is kind of smushed or shrunk a little bit? The blue one is a little bit skinnier than the red one. That is your vertical stretch, okay? And that's all for the help session. I'll post this later. See you again on Thursday. That's my next help session.